Welcome to MyCounselor.Online. I'm Cassie, and today I'll be chatting with Jesse Masson about his recent article, 3 Tips to a Thriving Marriage. Jesse, thanks for being with me today, and thank you for your article, 3 Tips for a Thriving Marriage. I'm just hoping we can chat a little bit about those 3 tips.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, Cassie.
Yeah, I'm a numbers girl, so I thought that was really fun. 3 tips, that's, like you can wrap your mind around 3 tips. So the first one is don't be a mind reader. And can you talk, what do you mean, don't be a mind reader?
Yeah, part of that really comes from just hearing that a lot from other colleagues and supervisor of just that's a pretty frequent encounter that couples have, or a dynamic that they can have, is where we might be feeling something pretty strong where we then perceive or think we perceive what the other person is feeling or thinking in response to us or response to a situation, and then we allow that to really dictate or navigate how we interact. So really a healthy thing that comes out of that is not really assuming, and it goes back to that old thing of not making assumptions, and really being responsible and with control, taking ownership to interact with how I'm feeling instead of guessing games. And so that's really coming to the table with honesty and things that I can control, which are really just about me, right? Anyone can only bring to the table what they know and what they have about themselves.
Yeah, so, if I think my husband's brooding about something, and obviously it must be about me, like maybe just asking, like, are you upset with me? Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's even a great example, because I could relate to that in the sense of even my wife addressing me in times past, and somewhat at different times of, Jesse, you seem a little off. What's going on?
Yeah.
Rather is a much better way to engage, rather than, Jesse, what's the matter?
Yeah.
Because I might be thinking nothing's the matter, but that could lead to, well, I feel misjudged, or rather her just bringing her feelings and thoughts to the table of, Jesse, you seem a little off. Is there something going on?
Yeah.
Opens up a conversation to be able to engage with my spouse. And likewise, when there's that open conversation, presentation, or invitation, it allows both spouses to really enter into it, rather than put up a defense or figure out their assault on what the wrongdoing is here that we're mind reading about.
Seems like that curiosity makes everybody feel more comfortable rather than an assumption.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. So the second thing you mentioned is to date your spouse regularly. And this is like one of my favorites, because who doesn't like to go on a date with their spouse, right? So I think there's some folks that are like, well, we don't have money for dates, or why is it that important? We have so many other commitments. Like, we're just trying to do the thing. So you think that's important as a counselor in marriage. So talk a little bit about that. Why is it important? And what are some ways that people can do that, even if they're strapped for time or money?
Sure. Yeah, I think really what it comes down to is we prioritize the things that we value, or we prioritize the people we value, right? So if I prioritize my relationship with friends, I find a way to hang out with my friends to re-engage and connect. Likewise, if I value my time if I value my wife, then that's going to be a relationship I ought to and want to work towards in creating time and to re-engage with. So we spend money towards things that we value. We spend time towards things we value. and we spend energy towards things we value. And not all three of those have to be in play at the same time.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a requirement that those are at least shown. One, if not all, those need to be shown in that value. So to dialogue and to engage with a spouse that says, hey, I've got a really hectic week, or hey, it looks like you've got a really hectic week. How can we connect? And to the thought on money's tight, yeah, I get it. My wife and I, we've had our seasons of life where it was full-time school, kids, and part-time jobs. Like it was strapped for time, strapped for cash.
Yeah.
So what we realized is neither one of us felt like better or more secure based on the amount of money we spent on each other.
Yeah.
But really becoming creative and designating the value of what specific time are we going to share together, or what specific thing. So
Yeah.
my wife and I, as an example, we date regularly on Friday mornings. I've got time, like after the kids go to school, she has time in her business day. I have time in my business day. There's flexibility. And so we spend a weekly date time of, hey, let's either do breakfast or coffee. We'll go get a coffee, or we'll do breakfast at home.
Yeah.
We fix breakfast and we just sit down and we re-engage.
You don't have to spend extra time or money to have a date?
Yeah, I know. Now, I mean, there's some great things about dressing up and going to somewhere nicer than, the local fast food joint or whatever in my own kitchen, because that also conveys a value. Like I want to share the things that I've gained. I want to share that on my wife and with my wife.
Yeah.
And so that's all good. And dating is really going back to like when I dated my wife before she was my wife, that was really important because that conveyed something to her. I wanted to get to know her, and I wanted her to know that I wanted to get to know her. So dating is just, I always see that as a really essential aspect of any relationship really thriving, is because it conveys something more than just the action. You can sit down, make reservations at a nice restaurant and just not talk. And that's going to be a really horrible date.
Yes.
Or you could be at home, just make a hot cocoa or a tea or a coffee and just sit and really connect and really share with one another what's going on in your lives, not the business schedules.
Yeah.
Not who's got what child duty this week of activities, but what's going on with our lives. What's going on with you? How's this week been treating you? Here's how this week's been treating me. Really goes a long way to insert and reinforce that connection.
Yeah, what I'm getting from that is it's not just about the time or the energy, it's about the effort that you put into connecting in that time that you have together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, the third thing that you talk about is being your spouse's biggest support. And what does that look like?
Well, that looks like a long, hard lesson for me in the first several years of marriage. There was this, I would say it really out of me was inhibited because it was almost this competitive edge of, we are two people sharing the same marriage here, the same relationship, but we're really two individuals. And typically I'm working really hard to find my own identity, and my spouse is a wonderful professional businesswoman. A lot of times that could be really threatening to me.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, oh, she's got it going on. She seems really comfortable. I'm not. I'm still wondering, well, how does she view me? How am I fitting into this equation? And so it was really hard for me to really get behind what she was doing, to say, go do it, and you can do it.
Yeah.
Because it was my own insecurity. But what I've realized, and later in marriage, is no, we're not two individuals facing off to see who can be better. We're two individuals. We're on the same team, trying to propel what's good in us. A kind of like a key verse for me personally, from a biblical standpoint, really comes out of Ephesians 2. And if I were to see this, I think it's Ephesians 2:10 is really this. It says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them.
Yeah.
So really, as a Christian and as a married man, I want to say, okay, God didn't just create me, didn't just create me with the skill set. He's created my wife, predestined before I ever met her, before even she was born, that he's equipped her to be able to do things for her good and his glory.
Yeah.
I ought to want to get behind that and be a cheerleader for my wife in the things that she desires to do, the things that she's gifted at doing, and those dreams. Because when I can get behind her, there's that security that she's not going to take offense or see me as not supporting her or being in competition with her. It's going to build that security of, hey, I believe that you are capable of doing this. You're trying, you might fail. That's okay. That's not where our value is. I'm just trusting that you are doing your best with what you realize God's given you. And I want to support that. So, yeah. And likewise, I've felt that from her, where she really supports me, encourages me. And that makes a huge difference, because when we're no longer, husband and wife seeking out who's got the better face off this week.
Yes.
We come together, and it doesn't matter what else goes on. We can walk more securely in our relationship with one another because we got each other's back.
Yeah.
And we can face a lot more things than we could.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes all of life, all the tougher things outside of that, so much more palatable.
Yeah. There's been a lot of things that I think if I tried doing on my own, walking through life and without my wife, that would be extremely difficult. And I hope that I can be the husband that supports her where she feels more secure because of that than without it.
Well, thank you for tuning into this article. And if you'd like to see more articles from Jesse, to read this article in its entirety, or to check out all the amazing resources from our multitude of counselors, you can find them at MyCounselor.Online.